lucky for Banner I showed up, because he'd be a smoldering pile of ashes by now.
Wait!
The way most people see the Hulk today is honestly very different from how the character actually exists in Marvel Comics. A bunch of MCU fans mainly know Hulk as this giant green rage monster who smashes everything, barely talks, and acts almost childlike whenever Bruce Banner loses control. That version became extremely popular because the movies simplified the character into something easy for casual audiences to understand. But the comics have always been way more complicated than that because Bruce Banner's mind is filled with multiple personalities and different Hulk identities, not just the calm scientist and the angry green monster. One of the most interesting personalities hiding inside Bruce Banner is the Grey Hulk, also known as Joe Fixit. Comic fans have loved this version of Hulk for years because he feels completely different from the classic Savage Hulk people usually picture. Joe Fixit is smarter, more manipulative, morally questionable, and honestly much more dangerous in certain ways. He still has Hulk's strength, although not quite at the same insane level as the green version, but what makes him terrifying is that he actually thinks strategically. He's not just smashing buildings because he's angry, he plans things out, makes deals, manipulates people, and operates almost like a crime boss. That's exactly why so many fans feel the MCU desperately needs to introduce him sooner rather than later. Although Marvel has spent years developing Hulk on screen, the movies still haven't really explored the psychological complexity that makes Bruce Banner such a fascinating character in the comics. Instead, the MCU rushed through a bunch of Hulk storylines without giving them enough emotional depth. The Grey Hulk technically first appeared all the way back in 1962 in The Incredible Hulk #1, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. What surprises many fans is that Hulk wasn't originally green at all. He was gray. But Marvel had trouble consistently printing the exact shade of gray back then, so by the second issue, they switched him to green because it was easier to reproduce in comics. Even though the color change happened because of printing issues, the Grey Hulk eventually became its own separate personality years later thanks to writer Peter David. David completely reinvented Bruce Banner's psychology and confirmed that Banner suffered from dissociative identity disorder. Instead of Hulk simply being a transformation caused by gamma radiation, the comics established that Bruce had multiple personalities living inside his fractured mind. That decision honestly changed Hulk forever because it turned him from a straightforward monster character into one of Marvel's most psychologically layered heroes. The Savage Hulk represented Bruce's childhood rage and innocence, while Joe Fixit represented Bruce's darker impulses. Joe wasn't innocent at all. He enjoyed gambling, power, manipulation, and violence. He did whatever benefited him personally because, unlike the classic Hulk, Joe didn't really care about being heroic. In the comics, Joe Fixit famously worked for the Las Vegas mob as a casino enforcer and nightclub bouncer. Just imagine Hulk walking around in expensive suits, working security for criminals, intimidating people with both brains and muscle. That concept alone already feels different from almost every Hulk story the MCU has told so far. And honestly, that's why the character could work so perfectly in the current MCU landscape. Marvel has already spent years showing the softer side of Hulk. By the time Avengers Endgame arrived, Bruce Banner had fully merged into Smart Hulk, which basically turned him into a calmer version of himself living inside Hulk's body. Some fans enjoyed Smart Hulk because it showed character growth, but a bunch of others felt disappointed because the savage and emotional side of Hulk almost disappeared completely. The biggest issue with Smart Hulk in the MCU is that he never really felt like a separate personality. In the comics, Professor Hulk is supposed to be its own identity with Bruce's intelligence mixed together with Hulk's power and confidence. But the MCU version mostly just feels like regular Bruce Banner in a larger body. The psychological conflict got simplified too much. That's why introducing Grey Hulk could finally fix that problem. Joe Fixit would allow Marvel to show audiences that Bruce Banner's mind is genuinely fractured and filled with different personas that each represent different emotional aspects of his trauma. Instead of another generic CGI monster fight, Marvel could finally tell a darker and more character-driven Hulk story. There are already rumors that Hulk could appear in Spider-Man Brand New Day, and that movie would be the perfect place to introduce Joe Fixit. The traditional childlike Hulk simply doesn't work as a true villain anymore. Audiences love him too much. Even when Hulk loses control, fans still see him as misunderstood rather than evil. But Grey Hulk is completely different. Joe Fixit absolutely could function as a dangerous antagonist in a Spider-Man movie because he's smart enough to challenge Peter Parker mentally, not just physically. Peter can usually outthink brute force villains eventually, but Joe Fixit is clever, manipulative, and street smart. He understands criminal operations, intimidation, and power structures, so instead of simply smashing Manhattan apart, he could slowly take over New York's criminal underground. That setup would honestly fit perfectly into the grounded street-level direction Spider-Man seems to be heading toward right now, especially because characters like Punisher are reportedly connected to the movie too. Frank Castle going after a crime-running Grey Hulk sounds like exactly the kind of brutal storyline Marvel could build an entire movie around. Imagine Spider-Man trying to stop a criminal empire led by a Hulk personality who actually knows how to manipulate people and operate strategically. That feels way more interesting than another giant skybeam or multiverse disaster. Joe Fixit could bring back the gritty crime thriller energy fans loved in shows like Daredevil while still keeping Hulk involved in the story. Marvel has all the pieces already sitting there waiting to be used. The MCU just needs to finally commit to exploring Hulk properly again because the character has been strangely underused for years. A bunch of Hulk's biggest comic storylines either happened off-screen or got rushed through too quickly. For example, Hulk becoming a gladiator champion on Sakaar should have been an entire movie by itself. Instead, the MCU squeezed most of that storyline into Thor Ragnarok. Bruce becoming Smart Hulk also happened entirely off-screen between movies, even though that transformation should have been a massive emotional moment for the character. That's why fans worry Marvel might waste Grey Hulk too, if they only treat him like a quick Easter egg or temporary costume change. The character deserves an actual storyline with emotional depth because Joe Fixit isn't just another visual variation of Hulk. He represents Bruce Banner's darker side finally gaining control. And that wraps up today's video. If you want to stay in the loop with all the latest movie and series news, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give us a big thumbs up, because I'll be bringing you more updates on upcoming movies before they even drop. So keep an eye out for that along with the latest on your other favorite shows and movies. Stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one.